What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Radatz Report. It is time to talk about the Toronto Raptors. I have come up with three trades the Toronto Raptors can still make. I will be breaking it down and discussing why the Raptors may do these trades. So if you're ready to watch this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that would be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, we're going to start with our first trade here, and it is between the Toronto Raptors and the Charlotte Hornets, and this may confuse quite a few people. Why would the Hornets want to acquire Bruce Brown, and why would they make a trade with the Raptors in which they give up a 2027 first-round pick? Well, let me explain my logic here for a lot of people that may seem a little bit confused. So if you are not watching this video and you're driving and you're listening, let me break this down. The Toronto Raptors received Grant Williams, who's making $13 million. Cody Martin, who's making $8.1 million. Cody Martin's listed as a small forward, Grant Williams, power forward. Again, combined, they make about $21 million. And in return for taking on the salary, the Hornets give the Toronto Raptors a 2027 first round lottery protected pick. In return, the Hornets get an expiring contract of Bruce Brown, who makes about $23 million. So here's the question. Here is the question that everyone will be asking as to why a team like the Hornets would want to do this trade. It doesn't make sense. Well, when you look at salary implications, you will understand why the Hornets are doing this. The Hornets will have to extend Brandon Miller next offseason or risk going into free agency and then having to match an offer or potentially having to negotiate a new contract by then, in which that may not favor someone like the Hornets because Brandon Miller, we know, is a young player. He's going to be constantly improving every year. So it makes sense for a team like the Hornets to extend him next season. But this is where salary comes into play. When you look at, again, Grant Williams and Cody Martin, Grant Williams has 3 years left on his contract. Cody Martin has 2 years left on his contract. So in total, the Hornets could save obviously a ton of money, about $21 million to be exact, but it also allows them to spend approximately, again, with the salaries rising each off season, it lets them essentially allow them to spend about $32 million next off season and maybe get players that fit a little bit better, maybe even younger players they wish to target or to fill certain positions, which is beneficial to a team like the Hornets. Again, you have to understand why the Hornets would want to even go out and sign players. Well, you have to understand that the way the teams are rebuilding now is so much more different than even 4 seasons ago. Let's take a look at a team like the Rockets. Why did they go out and sign Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks last offseason? Well, they did that because they needed to bring some veterans in, but also to almost accelerate the rebuild, if you wish to call that. And now you see the Pistons as well. They're kind of doing a similar situation as well, where they went on and signed Tobias Harris. They went in and signed some veteran players like Tim Hardaway Jr., as well as some other guys. Why are they doing this? It's simple. You need some veterans on the team, but most importantly, you need to develop a winning culture. Again, I want to use the Pistons because you may have Cade Cunningham locked up for another 4 or 5 years, but that doesn't necessarily mean he will stay there. If a team continues to lose and does not establish a winning culture by year 3 or 4, or at least improve a little bit, what does that demonstrate to younger players like Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball? Yes, LaMelo Ball has been injury prone as well, but for a team like the Hornets, you want to be able to start establishing a winning culture, and I think that has to start next offseason. So that is why they do this trade here. Again, beneficial for the Raptors. They get a first-round pick out of this. I'm very intrigued to hear what you think of this trade. And let's move on to trade number 2 here. Now, this trade is a handful. This involves a three-team trade between the Toronto Raptors, the Atlanta Hawks, and the New Orleans Pelicans. And as you guessed, the big picture, the big fish here is Brandon Ingram being traded. Now, he's being traded to the Atlanta Hawks from the Pelicans. And the Toronto Raptors will be sending Jakob Poeltl to the Pelicans. They'll also be sending Ochai Agbaji to the Atlanta Hawks, who could always use some sort of defense, right? In return, the Atlanta Hawks send Bogdan Bogdanovic to the Pelicans for salary purposes. He's making about $17.2 million. He's still got 3 years left. But also take into consideration, you got Zion Williamson, who's always going to need floor spacers around him. Bogdan has been one of the better bench players in the last couple of seasons. He's been amazing at shooting threes and just having a lot of production off the bench. For a team like the Pelicans, they could absolutely use someone off the bench like him as well. And the Atlanta Hawks, will also be sending a 2025 first round top 5 protected via the Lakers. They'll also send a 2028 first round protected top 8 to the Pelicans as well. Now, in return for the Raptors here, the Raptors did send out Jakob Poeltl. Now, the Pelicans did say they don't want a traditional center. They want to move away from that, which is kind of odd because JV was someone that stretched the floor, but the Pelicans absolutely Let's be honest, they didn't do a great job of replacing JV in the offseason. And they're kind of in a weird situation here where they almost are questioning who's going to be their starting center. It's not definitely going to be Yves Missy, who's a rookie, but they almost also don't have any other choices as well. So the Pelicans are kind of in a weird situation, which is why they get Jakob Poeltl here. They get their starting center. The Raptors do lose Jakob Poeltl in that trade, but in return, they get DeAndre Hunter again, salary purposes, makes $21.6 million for the next 3 years. They get Kobe Buffkin as well. Now, this was a player the Toronto Raptors were really interested in drafting before they ultimately drafted Grady Dick. Now, Kobe Buffkin had a very injury-prone rookie season, and he was selected, I believe, 15th or 16th. So essentially, for getting rid of Jakob Poeltl, for trading Jakob Poeltl here, you essentially get a lottery pick, late lottery pick, if you want to call it, Kobe Buffkin. And you also get a Pelicans second round pick via Chicago 2027. And we know the Chicago Bulls aren't going to be great. And if you know anything about how the new NBA draft format is, a team like the Chicago Bulls are probably going to be a top five pick in the second round, and that benefits the Toronto Raptors, right? So ultimately, I think this trade favors a lot of teams. The Atlanta Hawks, the reason why they get Brandon Ingram, let me describe my reasoning behind this is they still need some scoring guys. Trae Young is good, but he also needs a running partner. But the benefit in this is Brandon Ingram is a bucket getter, right? And he plays a different position than Trae Young. It's not a DeJounte Murray situation where he has to share the ball and, point guard duties as well. So he plays a different position, also just gives him a small forward. The Atlanta Hawks could use some shot creation as well. And you know what? That's a really good player to get for the Atlanta Hawks when you think about offensively what they need. And again, Ochai Agbaji, young player is not going to do much, but he can provide a little bit defense for them as well. So I'm very curious to hear what you think of trade number two here. I really like Kobe Buffkin. I still believe he's got a bright future. So the Raptors get him, and also DeAndre Hunter is one of those players. If he has a good season, maybe you could look to move him down the road as well and hopefully acquire a second round pick or something of value as well. So let's move on to our last trade here. Now, this trade involves the LA Lakers and the Toronto Raptors. The Lakers get Jakob Poeltl and Ochai Agbaji from the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors acquire Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, both who have 2 years left on their contract. They also acquired 2026 first round top 10 protected pick from the Lakers and a 2030 second round pick from the LA Lakers. Now, why do the Lakers do this? Quite obvious. You obviously get rid of some money as well, but most importantly, you get a starting center. The Lakers simply cannot go out in free agent and get a center. It is just impossible for them, and with the limited amount of money they have to spend, Jakob Poeltl is a great center for them to acquire. A good center who can, really play some well defense. I'm not saying he's going to stop Nikola Jokic by any means necessarily. No one is stopping Nikola, but I mean, let's be honest. He is a good player that could fit really well for someone like a LeBron James, for Anthony Davis as well. This also allows AD to kind of play that four position. So it really, really strengthens their defense, which is something the Lakers are good at, but they also, it really just helps them solidify that five spot for them, which Hibaji, again, similar to with the Hawks. Young player's not going to do much but provide some good defense, and the Lakers love defense. Now, from the Toronto Raptors point of view, why are they acquiring Rui Hachimura, who's got 2 years, $17 million left, and Gabe Vincent, who, let's be honest, was not good at all last season. He was injury prone, but you know what? He's got 2 years, $11 million left on his deal as well. The simple reason here is you acquire some salary back in return for some picks. You trade Jakob Poeltl, which you do get something back, a 2026 first round top 10 protected. You also get a 2030 second round pick as well. Now, again, the logic behind this is Rui Hachimura is not a bad player at all. That gives the Raptors a little bit depth at the power forward position. The forward position is really lacking for that team. Gabe Vincent isn't a great contract, but look, if he's healthy, he can play defense, right? So ultimately, in terms of money wise, it's not great for the Raptors, but that's why the Lakers are giving the Raptors a first round pick. When you take into consideration both the Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent are making a combined $28 million, and then you got Jakob and Ochai making about $23.8 million. The Lakers save about $5 million. And for a team like the Lakers that never almost have money because of how much money they're playing LeBron and AD, any sort of even saving a couple $1 million is a bonus, not to mention the players they are getting as well. So these are the three trades I've come up with. There was another trade I came up with. I actually used it on my phone on Fanspo, worked perfectly fine, and I was trying to do it on my computer. It said not successful for various reasons. I won't reveal the trade because there's certain players that can't be traded until a month into the season. So maybe I'll do a future trade video where I'll reveal that trade details as well. So let me know how you thought of some of these trades. I know they're not the sexiest, and I try to balance them from both sides as much as possible. So let me know your thoughts down below, and let me know which one was your favorite as well. So that will be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.